Hello anybody, and welcome back to Let's Play Banjo-Kazooie. I'm Mr. Devious, or just Deeb, and in the last episode we started Rusty Bucket Bay, and in today's episode we are pushing this button. And that will release a giant crate of TNT that will explode on the boat and open up a giant passage inside of the Rusty Bucket, or a giant hole to the hull. So, in the last episode, we did the outer perimeter of Rusty Bucket Bay, and I clarified that this is the hardest world in the game, and for that reason it is my favorite, even though it's kind of, not everybody likes this world. And over there we have a witch switch that we want to hit, and the best way to, this is actually a really challenging jump to make. I think you kind of want to get a running start, and that's good enough. Now the smart thing to do is if you want to hit that witch switch, you don't want to drop the TNT box until after you hit the witch switch, because if you don't, then it'll be easy to get back up here. Oh, damn it! If the TNT box was still there, I could climb up here much easier than I have been. Anyway, I think I got it this time. What you want to do is... No! Oh, there we go. This is the hardest jump in the game, I actually think it is, because you kind of need to trick out the game first with the, I think you might be able to do this. That might be smarter than jumping after using the Talon Trot, but anyway, since we've taken care of that, I have delayed long enough in revealing what is down here. Now that we've hit the witch switch and made a very uncreative jiggy, we're going to jump down here where there's a giant unfolded box with a jiggy in the middle. This is very easy jiggy to get, and oh no, there's a boss, but this is still kind of an easy jiggy.
Who dares enter Boss Boombox's hold? Off in my jigsaw, you'll never get it.
So we got this big old box. I'm serious, this is the boss of this level. This is like one of two bosses in the whole game aside from the final boss. Like, aside from Nipper from Treasure Trove Cove, and I guess like the ambush bosses. I don't even know if you would count those as bosses, but they're the closest you're gonna get. Anyway, as you can see, it gets very crowded in here, so if you aren't good at crowd control, you can get overwhelmed in this fight, but the better way to do this is kind of tedious, and you kind of get the point of what you have to do. If you have the golden feathers to spare, though, this is actually a very quick ordeal. And normally I wouldn't do this, but it's just kind of a tedious fight. And you break the last one, and he's like,
"Oh, you splintered me. Take this, I didn't want it, really."
And of course there are eggs in here. Like, there's a whole bunch of eggs you can refill with, but that's kind of that's a red herring hint for this boss fight, in that you don't really want to use eggs because they take forever to bust them open, even if they do provide you some range. Although if you want to use them against the little ones, it is pretty effective. So you have that option. Anyway, we're going to come back to the rear of the boat, which again, I do not remember what it's called. Not the bow's the front. And here we have the name of the boat, Rusty Bucket, as said. And we've got the big old flag with the Rare symbol on it. That's cool. I don't know. Whenever Rare puts its symbol in their games, I don't really mind. Even though it's kind of like shameless self-promoting, but you know, whatever. Anyway, we come into this life... Oh god, I thought I was going to fall. So we come in here, and there's a lot of ways into the Rusty Bucket. There's a lot of passages you can go inside of, and it's actually really cool, and I appreciate it. And if we look in... Well, first we're going to kill this guy. Seaman Grublin is what is his name. There's a very dangerous looking area out there. That poor man is trapped for life, I bet. Anyway, we hit this switch. Not a witch switch, but a fan switch, and that'll slow down the fans that are in the engine room out there. And you might be wondering what that's for. Well, that'll be very important. Soon, for what will be the hardest part of this game, and I'm not even joking. And here we have a terrifying enemy. Don't go near him. He's invincible. Like, even if you use this, he'll just knock you away. You cannot kill him, and he's kind of terrifying. As far as enemies go in this game, that guy's likely to hit you your first time playing, because you really don't expect it, unless the off color of the inside of his mouth kind of tips you off to be kind of wary. But even then, if you're just running around at like a normal pace, you're likely to get hit. So I think, now that we've come up over here, we've found a flotsam that we're going to pop. We're going to pop him. Also check these windows. It's easier to tell which windows you can hit on the Xbox Live, on the N64 version of the game. But in the Xbox Live Arcade version of the game, the breakable windows do look a fair amount closer to their, The breakable windows do look a fair amount closer to their counterparts. There we go. To their unbreakable counterparts. The breakables look similar to the unbreakables. There we go. Now, as I was saying in the last episode, the Champas are positioned in such a way in this level that they're trickier to deal with because you have to approach them by changing your level and terrain, which means they're much more likely to hit you and ruin your day. As you can see, we're back down to, like, low health. This level... Oh! Thought that was gonna kill me. But I guess not. So we now have to walk fairly carefully. Again, Rusty Bucket Bay, hardest level in the game. I keep saying that, I know, and I'm sorry, but I'm not sure how else to emphasize it. It kind of contrasts, and again, fan favorite, fan unfavorite. You love it or hate this level, and I like the aesthetic of this level too. I think this is industrial done well before industrial was overdone in games. And again, Rare does industrial levels well, and I like this idea. Like, in Mad Monster Mansion, I was talking about how Mad Monster Mansion seems like it would work with Gruntilda as like her summer home. Well, I actually think this place works with Gruntilda too, and that it's a big, disgusting oil tanker, and maybe that's how she gets all her funding, is she has money in, like, she has stocks in oil companies, I guess. I know that's kind of silly. Anyway, I think we've gotten everything in the bunk beds, in the men's quarters. Yeah, I guess that's everything. There's a guy who's just up there hanging out on his bed. I'm not going to ruin his day. He's had a long day. 312111. We want to remember this number for something we are going to go and tackle soon, but not quite yet. So we come around here, and we're going to be walking up to the next floor, I guess you could call it. Is that window breakable? I don't think so, no. It's kind of tricky to tell, but the breakable windows do look a little bit different, even in this version of the game. But it is, if you aren't sure, just peck everything, and eventually you'll find out where you're supposed to go. Anyway, we're coming closer up to the bow of the ship, and here we have another breakable window. And this will bring us inside the ship. I really like all the different compartments that Rusty Bucket has, so it actually lets you get a feel for the interior and just the massive scale of this ship. It makes it feel like, it's not like other boat levels in games where you're just entirely on the outside. Although, another Rare game, GoldenEye, it had a really good ship level because you actually got a good feel for the interior, and I just mention it because it is another Rare game, and Rare does pretty well on that sort of thing. And I just like the different kinds of rooms they have in here. They have the crew's quarters, they have like the mapping area, although I'm not sure how they're supposed to get into these rooms normally. Oh geez. And we actually want to get a golden feather because we have been running a little low. In the last episode we got a cheat that maximized our gold feathers up to 20 instead of 10. So they're more usable, but they're also more abusable, and it's easier to run out, actually, I think, than when I had normally 10. But at the same time, you also have more situations where you could use them than earlier in the game. They're much more useful and also almost feel a little more necessary. And we're in the kitchen now. You see in the fridge, they got all these eggs, so we're going to steal their dinner. But we want to be careful coming up here because there is, in fact, a tiny Champa hanging out in the fridge. You might want to just be careful as you look out for that. And we got these hot stoves here. And if you... Oh wow, this note is kind of well hidden. And we get these notes, and there is a Mumbo token in the oven. We're gonna get it. Stupid bear, you'll have to learn that red-hot ovens tend to burn. You're supposed to get that by using the Wonder Wing, the invincibility technique, but I wanted to touch the oven's hot thing just to get that line from Grunty, just to show how the game yells at you for being stupid enough to actually jump into the red-hot oven. It's like, don't touch the stove, you dummy. And here we have triumphant music because we're in the captain's quarters, and the captain's quarters are absolutely amazing. Actually, we don't know who the captain of this ship is. Possibly Gruntilda? I don't think so. But it certainly wasn't either of those guys. Anyway, if you've been paying attention throughout this LP, or if this is just like your first episode, hi and welcome. This was a weird episode to start on, but I appreciate you anyway. Anyway, this is actually a stop and swap room where there would have been like a big egg. I think it was a yellow egg sitting, not yellow, but I forget what color the egg was, but the egg would have been red egg. It was a red egg, and it was sitting on top of that bed. So now that we've taken care of that, of course, stop and swap, the egg only appears if you have Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie on the Xbox Live Arcade or enter a cheat on the N64 version of Banjo-Kazooie. There, I said it. Now here we come to what we needed those numbers for. You'll remember that we needed numbers for something, and the numbers were 6 of them, 312, 111. Now you can figure this out if you just randomly hit these buttons, but it's actually pretty hard to do this normally because you will take damage if you hit the wrong button, so you're likely to die. Plus, the last 3 numbers are 111, and if you've ever tried to guess the ordering of things, you'll notice that, well, I don't know if it's just me, but you're very reluctant to do numbers sequentially. Like, if you ever had a multiplication or multiple choice test, if you've ever had like a long sequence of the answer being the same letter, you start to doubt yourself and be like, this is kind of suspicious. It's a very natural feeling, because it shouldn't do that. Although sometimes they do that, and, you know, apparently the most likely answer on a multiple... I fell off the boat. Oh god. You fall pretty far if you get hit by that. Apparently B or C is the most common letter used for answers on multiple choice tests, but what do I know? I think they might have changed in recent years. Anyway, we come back to where this guy killed us, and we're gonna get our revenge on him, and jump up here, and of course, there's a Mumbo token in this smokestack, but in the other, if you know much about Banjo-Kazooie, you'll remember that on top of every level, at the highest point on every level, there is in fact a Jiggy, and this level, of course, is no exception. And that's our Jiggy. We're up to 7, and we're actually, this level is going on pretty long from the last world to this one, and even though this is quite short compared to the next world is like by far the longest world in the game, this level does take quite a bit of time to grab everything and just get everything you need to do, and I appreciate that. It's a very meaty level without overstaying its welcome, and that's part of what I like about this level, is it doesn't overstay its welcome, at least for me. I know not everybody likes this level, but I think it's fantastic. I think it doesn't overstay its welcome. I've been saying that word a lot. Have I been in here? Yes, I have. That's the kitchen where I burned myself. So now that we've taken care of all that other stuff, I think it's time for us to move to the most difficult portion of this level, and the most well-remembered portion of this level. First, we're gonna have to find a door on one of these smokestacks, and I think it's that one up there, although I'll check around on this one. Oh, it's actually this one. Okay. Good thing I checked. So you break open this door, and we're inside the smokestack. We want to take care of this guy, so he's gone, and we want to take care of this guy. This will make our life a little bit easier soon, I guess you could say. And we want to kind of... Ow! That didn't hurt me in real life, but I said ow anyway. We want to jump up here, and this will get us our other honeycomb piece. Kind of pretty well hidden, but I mean, if you have a keen eye, it's pretty easy to notice like the difference in the wall, but even so, Rusty Bucket Bay has some well-hidden things. Now, interestingly, now that we have 25 Mumbo tokens again, we don't need any more Mumbo tokens. I'll still get them out of force of habit of collecting them, because there's only one transformation left in the game, and that's in the next world, and it's 25 Mumbo tokens. In total, there are about 105 Mumbo tokens in the game, and you only need 75. So that's a pretty fair number to get. Anyway, you'll notice that these thingies are spinning, turbines, I guess? And they'll be occasionally coming to a stop. You'll remember, as when we first came in here, we hit a button on the other side of that glass over there, and now we're on the inside of this place. Did we murder that guy? I think we did. Anyway, I don't have very good memory, clearly. As we come in here, of course, you will notice that this is a very dangerous area. If you fall down there, you're dead. If you fall into the ship's interior, into the ship's murky underside, you will die. And I guess that is just kind of a thing, but interestingly, Banjo-Kazooie doesn't have a lot of falling deaths. It doesn't have a lot of bottomless pits. This area is one of the exceptions, with the other major exception being the room in which the Gobi's Valley portrait is. And I don't need to get this, but again, force of habit is getting me to collect it. I'm sorry, it's just the nature of being a completionist. And first we want to go across this thing. You do need to double jump, not double jump, but backflip, jump up it. Now, I might be going a bit slowly, but that's the way to do this portion. This area is kind of a speedrunner's, well, not a speed, this area isn't the speedrunner's nightmare for this game, but it is extremely, extremely challenging. Actually, it is a speedrunner's nightmare on the N64 version of this game because you can die so easily here, and if you die in a Banjo-Kazooie speedrun while you're collecting notes, then it's over. your speed run is done. You have to do it without dying in the worlds because you have to get all your notes in one go. Oh god. As you can see, very tense. And of course we have a Jiggy over here, and we're gonna be getting the last of the notes, and that's all the notes. You found all 100 notes on this world. Well done. Now actually, if you are going to try and beat this world as quickly as you can, my main advice for this would be to, to get all of the notes before you do this next part. First, now that we've gotten all the notes in the world though, we're gonna get this, and that's gonna stop the propellers on the rear of the ship. Now, what this means for us is we want to, oh god. We want to jump across and start heading across. The turbines will have partially stopped to make this a little bit easier, but we want to go as quickly as we can and run like the dickens, because this is not a very, this is close. If you go fast, even if you go fast, this is going to be very close. And unlike other timed challenges, this one can kill you very easily, very quickly, and you'll see what I mean soon enough. As soon as we get out here, where is the rear of the ship? It is over... No, that's the bow. The rear of the ship is this way. This is where the propellers are. I've already wasted a few seconds by doing that, but you might be saying, oh, you're almost there, 25 seconds, but this is the other challenge of this level, is just maneuvering yourself in the water. And see, there it is, and you have to swim behind the propellers and get this thing, and as you can see, it is not easy to steer yourself. And of course, if you're stuck in here, when the propellers start up again, you're dead. And guess what? The propellers will start again even after you get the Jiggy. So you see how close that was? The propellers start again, and that would have killed you. Anyway, Twycross, England. I just note that because that's actually where Rare's development place was. That's where Rare's situated, and that's interesting that real-world locations appear in video games. That's pretty cool. So now that we've taken care of that, we only have one Jiggy left in the level, and this is kind of embarrassing, but I don't quite now I remember where it is. I'll be right back. There it is! I forgot to pick up the Jiggy that was dropped by Snorkel in the previous episode. That's embarrassing. In the last episode, we saved a dolphin, and he gave us Jiggy, but I guess I forgot to pick it up. Oops. I wonder how many comments I'm going to be getting about that. Probably not that many because I only get so many viewers right now, but that's okay. That is alright, that is perfectly fine. I'm sure at least somebody is going to call me on it. Somewhere. Oh boy. That's embarrassing, that is silly. So with that, we've actually finished up Rusty Bucket Bay. A lovely level, I feel. I absolutely adore this level. Has some really challenging moments and Jiggies, and we actually didn't die, and we had a few close shaves, a few close moments, but that takes care of that, and we are actually almost about done this episode, because this episode has been going on for a bit. But before we end off this episode, there are a couple of cleanup I want to do before we get to that. First, there's the matter of the Witch Switch Jiggy, which is very easy to get, and that will take care of this. And then we're going to start doing some setup for the next world, by which I mean the last world. Okay, now that we've gotten our Jiggy for Rusty Bucket Bay's Witch Switch, now that the water level is this high, we can come over here, jump up this way, and the note thing will signify that there's a note door over here. 640. That means you have to have gotten at least 80 notes per level thus far, because 8 worlds, 80 notes per is 640. So you need, by this point in the game is getting a little more strict about how many notes you need. Anyway, now that we're done massacring these guys, we're gonna come to the final area in the game. Well, not necessarily. This is a very mystical fantasy force-like area. Now first things first, we want to come down, well actually no. The door to the next world, by which I mean the final world again, is, oh my god. First things first, you may have remembered all the way back when we were doing like Clanker's Cavern, Jesus Christ. There we go. When we were doing Clanker's Cavern. Also, you can see that we can get through that note door, so we can actually go to the next area without even doing the next world, but we're not going to be doing that because that's silly. You may have remembered a lot earlier in the LP where I showed off an area that had a portrait that had no Jiggy switch. Well, you come up here and hit this button, and that will spawn this. So we're going to have to go all the way back down to really early in this, in the lair. And actually, you might think, oh my god, that's so far back. Well, if you've been looking around and activating these cauldrons, this one will teleport us. Monsters chase you, they're a-hounding, when you'll get a grunty pounding. What does that even mean? So, this is actually one of the most useful well, I say one of, but there's like 4 shortcuts in the game. That's the most useful shortcut because this brings you from what is basically the beginning of the lair up to the end. So we kill him because he was going in slow motion. And that'll bring us back down here. And down here, of course, is where we will find a very mystical portrait. Now, if you didn't find this early on and you forgot about it, this is actually a pretty challenging place to find if you haven't been exploring, which you should have been because this is Banjo-Kazooie and you should be exploring. And we have 35 jiggies to punch into this portrait for Click Clock Wood. And Click Clock Wood is the final world in the game. It is by far the largest and it will take some time. I'm going to punch in the rest just like that. And we have 20 jiggies left. And that will open up the door to the final world, Click Clock Wood. But we're not going to be doing it in this episode because this episode has been going on a while. Rusty Bucket Bay took a while to do, but now that it's done, that just leaves this final world in the game. And if you want to see the final world of Click Clock Wood, then I just hope to see somebody in the next one. Bye-bye!